this world, and it's still hard to believe that the man is gone. I know it hasn't set in for me at all yet. I still feel like he's just away on vacation, and he's going to come back with tales of his latest adventure. But with that said, the planning for today was very important to Meyrick, and it means everything that you were all here to be a part of it, and I'm quite sure this is what he envisioned. As most of you know, Meyrick was a huge fan of opera. He attended shows on a regular basis. I'm sure he played it at home a lot. And as he contemplated how this day would play out, it was very important to him that opera would be part of the celebration. So I'm pleased to introduce our singer today. Her name is Teresa Castillo, and she will be starting today off with an aria from Puccini's Tosca, and it is called Lucevano de Stelle. Good, okay, almost got it. Which means the beauty of love and the pain of parting. So please refer to your program for the English translation, very meaningful song. Please welcome Teresa Castillo. Yeah, wow. Yes, wow. No, not heard me. You heard me, wow. That's incredible. Okay, we now will move to some speeches from family or eulogy and sharing of memories. And first up is Meyrick's daughter, Joanna.
Hi everybody, if you don't know who I am, my name is Joanna and I am Meyrick's youngest daughter. How do I begin to measure what my father meant to me? If we could gather up every piece of influence he had on all of you in this room, rolling every shared laugh, every story, every quiet moment into one massive constellation, it would still only hint at the light that he cast on my life. He meant something distinct to everyone here, and in return, you mattered deeply to him. Whether you knew him from the Stamford Yacht Club, his work, his family, or from places I may never even know about, you all were woven into the fabric of his world. If he offered you his time and genuine curiosity, it was because he found you fascinating. But for me, he was the anchor. He was the gravity that kept my feet on the ground. When life spun around me like a hurricane, he was always the eye of the storm, that one quiet, sunlit space I could retreat to before stepping back out to face the wind. Without him here, I admit I feel unmoored. I find myself wondering, how will I weather the storms to come? How do I find that quiet strength within myself? How will I hear his voice when I need his advice the most? Right now, those questions feel heavy. They leave me feeling adrift, but I know that the answer lies in the fact that his spirit didn't just vanish. It took root in me and in all of you. We now carry the collective memory of who he was. And I want to share just a few glimpses of the man that he was to me. I think of how he unfailingly called Alison Malloy's husband Michel instead of Michele, bringing me equal parts laughter and mortification. I picture him pedaling around Japan on a foldable Harrods bike he somehow acquired, a sight completely unique to him. And I can remember how he couldn't help but strike up a conversation with every single person in a restaurant, stranger or not, just so he could proudly brag about my sister and me. As a teacher, his versions of my lessons were always wildly exaggerated, like telling people I had my students flip their desks to simulate World War I trenches while lobbing paper wads at each other. Some of his ideas, had I actually used them, would have definitely landed me in the principal's office. And I remember after my parents' divorce, when I stayed with him, he would try to make me lunch by turning whatever random leftovers he found, often fish, into a sandwich. I always respected the fierce love behind that attempt at normalcy, even if the culinary results were highly questionable. These moments, funny, awkward, and profoundly loving, are the brushstrokes of his life. Because we all hold different pieces of his story, there's a memory book set out here today, and I invite you to take a moment later to write down your own memories, strange stories, or even the delightfully awkward conversations you shared with him. Reading them and gathering all those brushstrokes together will give me a beautiful new way to discover of who he was to you. Today, let these memories carry us. A wave gathers momentum and purpose as it moves across the ocean, just as his life gathered meaning through his connection with all of you. And while a wave breaks apart when it reaches the shore, the water itself does not disappear. It flows back out, folding into the sea, blending into the currents that carry the rest of us forward. May we all feel his quiet presence as we navigate our own sometimes stormy seas, trusting that one day we, too, will return to the water and be gathered again with the ones we love so dearly, just as he's been gathered back to us. Thank you. And now I'd like to invite my uncle, Anthony, to come up and share some memories of his.
Now, this is hard acts to follow. Thank you all for coming. Let's take time. But anyway, let me get through this. Meyrick, one moment. I thought I was going to be quite clear-cut about over and out. But it's quite interesting to see how many people here knew him, loved him, and appreciated him. Meyrick was a good man and a great brother. He was my rock. He truly was. When we were growing up, my parents served overseas, And Meyrick and I had to go to boarding school in England. And, you know, rugby school, it was like, rather like Hogwarts from Harry Potter. And we were there for all year round, except for 8 weeks in the summer and 4 weeks in the Christmas and 4 weeks at Easter. And so we hardly ever saw Mum and Dad. And I was there amongst all these other kids, locked up, trying to make the best of it. And I don't know how I would have done it without Meyrick. I was 7 years old, and he was 10. Anyway, we got through it, and he was wonderful. And anyway, after that, of course, things started to change because Meyrick went off and became a CPA, then came to America, started his adventure here, started Ames Tuck, where he got his MBA, and then worked for McKinsey. And so I never really saw him. I went to university in Spain, and when I got back, he'd gone. And it wasn't until I was 34 that, you know, chance would have it that I was coming to America for my career, and here was Meyrick. Again, my rock, and showed me the ropes. It's certainly a lot easier to settle down knowing that he was there, as he was when I went to rugby. You can imagine what a basket case I would have been. Anyway, I arrived here in July the 4th, 1980, and from the airport, the car took me here to Stamford Yacht Club. I thought, wow, this is nice. This is going to be okay. And then there was all these fireworks and everything, you know. And there I was, fresh off the boat or fresh off the plane from England during a firework exhibition. Anyway, we settled in, and it was soon after that I moved to Los Angeles. But my daughter, or our daughter, Janine, is here with us. Our daughter always said that Meyrick really did see the best in everybody, and always wanted to lend a helping hand and encourage them, especially amongst the young people. It was a great gift he had, and it made a lot of difference to a lot of people, as Jay was just saying. So anyway, Meyrick continued to play a huge part of our lives. When my son, when Janine and my son, Michael, was born in New York in a blizzard of all things, in the New York hospital, on January the 20th. Meyrick was there, you know, he'd come in from Stamford and make sure everything was going to be all right. It made a big difference to us then. He also officiated. He liked doing weddings. And many of you, I know that Jay, our dear family from Ireland, and Michael and Katie, I'm sure a few others, were married by Meyrick. And he always made the ceremony into something very joyful and fun. My brother Peter, we have another brother who, not like Meyrick, who sort of left and came to America at early age. He left and went to Australia. And so, although I was saying I hardly ever saw my brother until I moved here, we hardly ever saw our younger brother Peter Payne in Melbourne. any of you going there, well worth looking him up. Recently, we did get to visit, I think maybe 4 or 5 times over the last 35 years. We got to meet him and his wife and his family. But that distance of Australia is almost too much to deal with. But now with Zoom, Meyrick and Donna and Janine and I and Peter and Lucille used to speak every Saturday, and I know, Donna, we want to continue doing that. He actually sent me a little email saying, oh, you could mention this, you could mention that. And I said, it's going to be difficult enough as it is. But if you're listening, Peter, you're a good brother too. Anyway, I think I'm coming to an end now. Anyway, Meyrick he lived a good life. He really did. He also shared a good life. And so would you join me in three cheers? Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. That was amazing. Please remember to turn off your cell phones, etc., etc. Next up is Meyrick's grandson, Chase.
Hello. I'm Chase. I was Meyrick's grandson, and I'd just like to share a few words with all of you. I remember a very specific day quite a while ago. I was probably 8 or 9, and my parents called me down to a Zoom call. They were sitting at the lit fireplace with their laptop while our cat, Train, John Coltrane, if anybody knows him, was sitting on my dad's lap to no one's surprise. I, of course, would come down, but wouldn't realize how important this next moment would be. My grandpa, along with his brothers, Peter and Anthony, were on the Zoom call, probably talking about finance and the daily game of backgammon or whatever, except I don't really remember. The important part was they looked so happy and close, despite how far apart they were from each other. I mean, across the three of them, they must have been thousands of miles apart. This is what truly impressed me about my grandpa. Almost nobody goes through that effort to stay close to people so far away, yet he did. He taught me that you must always be there for the people you love, no matter how distant they are. Fast forward a couple years, and I had just left my boarding school in Lake Placid, New York. The people there were some of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life, and I had such a close bond with them. Yet, I hadn't had the smoothest experience there. My grades were good, but I was still learning to handle myself on my own, away from my parents. When I got home, a letter was waiting for me from Meyrick. He explained how, in his youth, he had made mistakes at his boarding school as well. The letter explained these mistakes and how they impacted his life. I read the whole thing multiple times, not being able to wrap my head around how he had so many experiences similar to me, how such a successful and inspiring person had made mistakes too. But the more times I read the letter, I started to realize that mistakes don't determine your failure, they determine your success. He showed that same passion of keeping close to your friends and family, no matter the mistakes you may have made. And then and there I knew that I couldn't let those friends I made in Lake Placid go. I called them all and apologized for the mistakes I may have made. And to this day, we still call and reminisce about the times we had, despite being in so many different places. Guatemala, Florida, Mexico, the list goes on. And every time I go on those calls with them, I remember that day so long ago when my grandpa did the same. Something that really struck me while writing this was how many little things Meyrick improved in my life. From things like my ability to write, read, and interpret ideas, to more significant things like being taught the history of the American Revolution and the Boston Tea Party. And most importantly, many, many stories of his life as a teenager. He always had a lesson, whether that was moral or philosophy, at hand. During my middle school years, my first name, Meyrick, was a very particular and unique one compared to most people at my school. Since I go by Chase, every time there was a substitute teacher, they would start attendance and call me by Meyrick, as it was the name on the attendance sheet. A couple kids gave me a hard time about it, and I felt sort of embarrassed because part of me wanted a name more generic and boring. But now that I look at it, I thank God that that is not the case. It was only when he actually passed that I realized how much I truly loved his name, how much I loved the time I had with him, how much I loved those family Zoom calls and the letters he sent, how happy I was around him. And the thing about that happiness is, you never really knew you had it until it's gone. Wherever you are, Grandpa, I hope you know that I love you and I love my name, and I always will. Thank you.
Next up is Meyrick's older daughter, Amanda.
I said I didn't want to go last. Thank you all so much for coming. This past December, we decided to come to Stamford for an early Christmas celebration with my dad and Donna. Of course, our visit included a special dinner here at the SYC. I say of course because for over 50 years, this has been like a second home to my dad. He's made countless friendships with both members and staff. I can still picture him walking down that path between the snack bar and the tennis courts with that beautiful smile, chatting everybody up. And then when his introverted side kicked in, yes, he had an introverted side, he would head down and sit by the beach and look out at the boats and the harbor and enjoy the peace. Now back to that dinner. After we had all just finished ordering, he spotted a young couple sitting deep in conversation about 15 feet away from us. I bet you can all guess what happened next. He got up, walked over, introduced himself, and after about 30 seconds, motioned towards us and introduced each one of us to his new friends. As you can imagine, my 12-year-old twins were a little taken aback by all of this, which is when I had to explain to them that this is what I'd been dealing with my entire life. Of course, as a kid and a teenager, it was all very embarrassing. But as I got older, I realized that this was one of the many things that made my dad one of a kind. No one was safe from the unexpected walk-up if my dad was in the dining room, and we were all better for it. Dad loved to give advice and had many words of wisdom. One of his favorite sayings was, "To rest is not to conquer." Whether he was making his two surly teenage daughters complete the most difficult trail on a hike, or forcing me and a friend to carry our clunky old yellow laser for what felt like a half a mile on the burning hot sand. You've all seen the beach here at the Yacht. At which point, said friend yelled out, "Good God, Mr. Payne, let us put this thing down." He was always pushing us. Anyone here who knew me in high school knew that I was doing a little more resting than conquering. But as I got older, I started to work hard and do my best to make my dad proud. His words always stayed with me. Another one of his favorite mantras was to never let a few facts get in the way of a good story. I don't think we need any examples here, as most people in this room have sat through one of Meyrick Payne's tales. Were they 100% accurate? No. Were they good stories? Yes. And that's all that matters. There's so much more I could say, but as I predicted, my ability to hold back the tears is fading fast. So I'm going to wrap up by repeating what I posted on Facebook when I was finally able to share Dad's obituary. My sweet Dad, your beautiful soul will live on in our hearts. The world was a much better place with you in it. Now heaven gets to have you. They probably didn't think it could get any more delightful up there. But the joke's on them.
Thank you. We have one speaker that is not on the program. Many of you probably don't know Meyrick was part of a not-so-secret society here at the club. It has many names. I will not mention all those names, but it is known as the, I believe, Wednesday Lunch Club. And we have a representative, Richard Recker, who is part of that notorious club. While he's coming up, I just realized we are filming today, and you will have an opportunity. Our cameraman, Max, will, if you have things you'd like to record and say to the family, you'll have that opportunity after the speeches. I also realized we're filming us, but I think having a quick picture of who attended today would be great. So I'm just going to take a couple pictures while Richard gets going.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for the opportunity for the Wednesday Lunch Club to have a say about our dear friend Meyrick. We all know that he really enjoyed coming to the Wednesday lunches. We probably enjoyed having him more than he enjoyed coming to the lunch. He always was interested in discussing things like the world affairs and how we could make the world kinder and gentler. And at the end, make things better for all. As we all know, Meyrick's mindset was to leave no man behind. Also, he got involved with the city of Stamford in his own way. He had a saying regarding the lighthouse. The city should get more involved. The saying could be, light the way. So the city should be more involved in promoting the lighthouse and picking the logo up and run with it differently than what our current logo is at the city. His presence will be missed along with his thoughts and words regarding any subject. He called the group his brain trust, where he could gather information, share his thoughts, and look for answers that may help him in his current event or any situation that he's dealing with, like when the motor blew up on his dear boat, Ancora. Decisions for repair were important to debate. He loved sharing his friends with his brother Anthony. And when you were in town, Anthony, and I just want you to know, Anthony, you have an open invitation to come to any of our lunches when you're here on a Wednesday. Donna, our hearts are with you, and thank you for sharing Meyrick with us on those special Wednesdays when he made our lunch a little more special. He will always have a seat at our table.
Thank you, Richard. So, first of all, I'd like to sincerely thank Donna, Amanda, and Joanna for, and the rest of the family for allowing me to say a few words today. Over the years, Meyrick has been many things to me. My boss, my mentor, my business partner, our wedding officiant. He famously crashed our first date, classic Meyrick, at Brennan's, no less. But above all, Meyrick was a very, very close and dear friend of mine. In 2004, Meyrick, as he did with several people in this room, I believe, offered me a part-time job. Thanks to him, it quickly turned into a lifelong career. I'm joined today by two other firm partners, our cameraman, Max Raudersman, and our other partner, Sarah, who I haven't even seen yet, Sarah Yerke, who have come in today. Each of us worked with Meyrick for well over 20 years, which I think says a lot about this man. While it's very clear that what mattered most to Meyrick was his wife Donna and his family, the rest of his family, we who worked with him benefited from that because he treated us like family as well. Our firm has always had something different. There's a sense of support and trust that Meyrick nurtured that I don't think exists at many workplaces. I've often sensed envy from others in our industry because of our rare culture. It was such an incredible privilege to work alongside a man who cared so deeply about what he did. Meyrick approached his work with both passion and compassion. He cared deeply about the millions of Americans whose financial futures were impacted by the work that we did. And the respect he earned while doing it reflects that. You can see it here today. We have clients and colleagues who have joined us, and we have countless messages that have come in from across the industry, all speaking to his impact, both professionally and personally. When we went to conferences together, everybody knew Meyrick. Meyrick was very proud, as are we all, of what he achieved in his career. He was also very proud of his military service. Having served in the Honorable Artillery Company, the longest standing regiment in England, Meyrick informed me, and apparently the rest of his family, on regular occasions that he had been, in his own words, quite the killing machine in his day. And while I never doubted that for a second, it certainly seems in stark contrast to Meyrick's gentle character. Now, when I say we worked together, work is really just the word we use to describe what we did when we weren't out messing around on boats. As most of you know, I love boats. Meyrick loved boats. He loved cruising. He loved everything about boating, cruising. He did a ton of racing here back in the day. He loved everything about the sport, starting way back in his childhood in England. He loved Stamford Yacht Club, and was one of our, has been noted, one of our rare honorary members, marking 50 years, more than 50 years of membership here. He owned many boats over the years and took great pride and joy in having those boats play key roles in numerous club events. And we are very pleased that it will be his last boat, Ancora, that will be the lead boat in this year's commissioning parade. So I could stand here and tell endless stories about our work adventures together, but there's just one that I think captures the essence of our working relationship and our shared love on the water. I've been working with him for about a year, and it was early on a Friday afternoon. We'd had a very hard week and very busy week, and I just looked up and I said, "Hey, Meyrick, I'm gonna take my laptop and go down to my boat and just finish out the workday down on the boat." And Meyrick looked up and said, "Okay, got it, pal, no problem. See you Monday." So I ran down to the boat, got aboard, motored out to the southwest corner of the harbor, grabbed a mooring, went down below, promptly fell fast asleep for at least an hour. When I woke up, popped my head out, looked around, and sure enough, about 20 yards away on another mooring was Meyrick's boat. No sign of Meyrick. It was quite clear to me at that point that not only had he approved of my idea, but he had decided to do the exact same thing. And that is when I knew I'm working for the right guy for the long term. And, I'm sure we had drinks on the vineyard deck after that. Meyrick worked with us up until just a couple of years ago. But even after he stopped, he remained very interested in the business. And of course, we stayed in touch regularly. I feel incredibly fortunate that I was able to spend some time with him just before he passed away. I've been thinking for a while about what I wanted to say here today, and in particular, to share a few of the key things that he had taught me over the years. And I really wanted to share it with him before he passed. So I sat by his bedside and I read him a draft of this actual speech. And it was way harder for me to do than I thought it would be. But in the end, he was very touched and very appreciative. And then, like any good business partner, he had a few revisions. So in closing, I present to you 3 things I learned from Meyrick Payne, as vetted by Meyrick Payne. And by the way, one thing Meyrick taught me, always tell him you have 3 points, even if you don't. Get started on the first, the second, and by the time you get to the third, you'll have thought of something. So, and I will not pretend to claim that I've mastered these 3 things, but I try it every day because I'm convinced. I know they work professionally, and I think they work in your personal life as well. So, first rule, give it away. Meyrick's approach was always to share his ideas and insights openly, without worrying about getting credit all the time. He showed me how becoming known as a thought leader was much more valuable than simply trying to get paid for everything you do. Once people trust you and your judgment, they will come to you, he said, when they really need you. Second, be interesting. Have a point of view, bring something to the table, literally. Anyone who sat with Meyrick for more than a few minutes knew he was a truly great listener. But when it was his turn to speak, you leaned in. He didn't talk much about himself, but he always had something to offer, an idea, a story, a perspective that made you think. And you walked away thinking you indeed had learned something, or at least had been very entertained. In his words, as I sat with him, he said, "Be an angel or be a devil, but for God's sake, don't be boring." The third final point, visualize your end result before you begin. Whenever we started a new consulting project, we sat down and discussed what we thought the final deliverable what might look like. Then we headed down the journey of doing the work. Invariably, it would take us in directions that we hadn't envisioned, and the end result usually looked a bit different than what we first thought. But the vision kept us focused, which always ensured a good outcome. And again, while I know this works very well professionally, I'm quite sure that Meyrick kept that in mind for his entire personal life, because I know he was incredibly happy with the journey and very incredibly happy with the end result. So on a final note, there's a phrase that people say, the key to success in life, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I can tell you this, and I think many here would agree, so much of what I know is because of who I knew. And luckily for me and for all of us, that was Meyrick. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Meyrick. Donna, did you want to say anything? You don't have to.
All I will say was it was quite a ride. It was a very, very interesting, kind, and wonderful. And just as everyone here has said, he was open to ideas. He was open to anyone who wanted to have a conversation or hear about his life, but also he was very interested in theirs and what they would have to say and bring that he could learn from. He was forever curious and forever interested in everyone else, literally in the room. And that's about as much as I can do right now.
Okay, so with that, we've reached the final part of our celebration today, and it is another opera piece. It's certainly more upbeat than the first piece. This is from Verdi's La Traviata. And please correct me, but the song is what's called a brindisi, and it's essentially a toast. And it is titled Beviamo ne lieti calici. Yes? Good, okay. Which means, let us drink from the joyful cups. So once again, please welcome Teresa Castillo.